Lord have mercy, look at how the time goes.
And welcome everybody to this episode of the Coming Home podcast with John Allen. I am, of course, your host, John Allen, the resident American in Norway. Someone help me, please. And today, my guest is a fantastic gentleman that I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite a few years. His name is Daniel Eriksen, and he is the boss of Eleiko Norway. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, man, I am doing great. I am too blessed for stress. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you?
Good to hear.
Yeah.
No, it's a little stressful days for us right now at Eleiko since we have this big turnover in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Everybody's just sitting on the fence and waiting for a message that they can reopen their gyms.
Yeah.
And of course, there is a lot of nervousness around there because people are getting afraid.
I would imagine there's quite a bit of nervousness. I know for a fact that some people were thinking, things will be shut down for a week or so, and then we'll be right back at it. But a week has come and gone several times over.
That's true. We in the company we had our conversations as well when this started up, and we guessed 6 weeks, and we thought we were being pretty tough with those 6 weeks, but we were talking to our customers and just sharing our thoughts, and 6 weeks was the time frame we presented, and it seems like it's going to be more than that. So
because we've just passed 6 weeks as it is now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
7 weeks, 6 weeks.
I think it's 6.
It's 6 weeks now.
It's time flies.
And I would say that we're probably I don't know. There's different. There's a different word out on the street, but I would imagine that it's going to probably be close to another month before things are totally back to normal, gyms open, people are able to train as they will. That would be a safe guess, I think, from my side anyway, about a month.
Yeah, that's our impression as well now, that the things that we think now within the company, we have meetings every day at 10 with the sales force, and we are talking to our customers all the time. Because we just need to give them these conversations and just because they miss somebody to talk to, and they're sitting in this mess, and a lot of them is feeling all by themselves. So what we talk about, with our customers now is that we are prepared for another 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
that's a safe bet. That's a safe and realistic way to put it. Absolutely.
I think so too. But the thing is, the problem is actually not now. The problem is after they open, because if they open with half the membership base, that is a problem.
What are you hearing out there as far as the different gyms retaining their membership? Now, I'm a member at 2 different gyms, and I have not questioned anything as far as my monthly payment going out. I do that in support of the gyms that I'm a member at.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there are some people out there who are kind of justifiably thinking of their own personal economy, and maybe they're canceling their gym memberships. Are you hearing anything about that?
Well, yeah, not the last week, and the thing is that this changes every week, so that makes it difficult. But in the first couple of weeks, we were amazed about the numbers we heard that kept paying, and we were amazed about the low numbers of cancellations, and also amazed about the low numbers of freezes. Because you can freeze your membership as well, So
right.
So that was really positive. But after a while, you get exhausted by this as a consumer, and you get afraid on the way.
Yeah.
And that also makes you just think about yourself and just cut all expenses just to be on the safe side. So I believe a sentiment in the market will have probably changed the last couple of weeks, and they're getting exhausted with this, and finally just take all precautions and just think about themselves. And especially, of course, if you are in the danger zone of getting a furlong or getting
laid off, losing your job,
that's of course you have to think about yourself and your family.
Absolutely, I totally understand it. I am very fortunate, and I say this daily in my conversations with friends. I am very fortunate to be in a situation where my family has not felt any financial loss or any financial strain from this crisis so far. But I do know that there are quite a few people who are feeling it. And of course, it's the extra things that are going to fall by the wayside. And among those extra things will be gym memberships.
Yeah. And I think maybe CrossFit will be the toughest ones because, CrossFit has a pretty young member base and they have high prices.
That's true.
And,
That's true.
If you're young, your economy is most often not that developed as a grown-up.
Yeah.
And also, it's 700, 800, 900 crowns a month. I believe it's a short,
which is about $700 or $800. No, what would that be? $70 or $80 a month, and that adds up.
Yeah.
And that adds up when you're young and you've got a tight budget.
Yeah,
it definitely adds up.
So we don't know that. We don't have that many customers in the CrossFit base in Norway. So we don't really know this. This is just our assumption based on the typical member and the price point.
For those who don't know, I have a varied audience, so there's a lot of different type of people who are listening to this podcast. Eleiko is, tell them what your business does, Eleiko Norway. Just tell people about it.
Yeah, so Eleiko Norway is a wholly owned subsidiary of Eleiko Group. Eleiko Group is a manufacturer of mostly free weight and functional equipment.
Yeah.
And as you know, John, the bar is what we're famous for.
The good old Eleiko powerlifting bar, the bar of the International Powerlifting Federation. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. And we say that that our bar is the world's most famous bar. So
and it is. It's definitely the most used, I would assume.
Yeah, and it's a nice play on words as well. So So we got more than 1,000 world records with our bars.
Wow, 1,000 world records.
Yeah, and we are preferred by the championships a lot because of the quality of the bar and the way you use the bar in the lifts, especially weightlifting.
Yeah.
So there are more, a larger odds of a world record with an Eleiko bars than with other bars.
Now you're talking about world records with weightlifting and powerlifting combined.
Yeah, that's right.
1,000. Wow. I've got a new goal now.
Yeah.
I have some American and some Norwegian powerlifting records, but now I need to get among those 1,000 world records. So there's another goal. There's another goal.
I just gave you that.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Daniel, the motivator.
Yeah. So us as a subsidiary, as wholly owned daughter company of Eleiko, we sell, of course, Eleiko. That's our heart, and we have other brands as well. So we can supply a total gym, with cardio, with strength machines, with free weights, functional, spin bikes, all that stuff.
And that's whether it is a powerlifting club, weightlifting club, a regular gym, a hotel gym, or a home gym. You've got it. You've got everything.
We're blessed right now because there are some of our competitors out there that is really feeling it because they only sell to gyms. While we have a lot more spread portfolio of customers.
That is probably a big benefit. That I never thought about that, but yeah, Eleiko is kind of spread over the entire spectrum of training equipment, whereas those more niche areas that are kind of single focused, I bet they're feeling these financial times a little bit more than you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're actually pretty large at corporate sales. So corporations is putting in gyms in their facilities for their employees.
Yeah.
We don't really have a nice presence yet when it comes to home equipment, but lately the last 4 weeks it's exploded.
Well, I know from go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
All the home equipment suppliers is empty. So people are willing to pay a premium in order to get the equipment in house. But of course we got our natural share of customers that will go for Eleiko, only Eleiko as well. But the interface between the end consumer and us has not been great. So that's been launching now. Probably next week we will launch a really nice platform where you can go in and just pick everything, put it in the basket, and pay on 24 months on in 2 different intervals, in 6 different intervals. It's going to be a really smooth interface that makes us more available for the end user, because a lot of them is actually calling us and asking, do Eleiko sell to individuals?
Well, I can tell you, as a competitive powerlifter now, actually these weeks now with the virus and the isolation and the gyms being closed, I've actually been enjoying myself doing just body weight exercises with TRX.
Yeah.
And I have an old elliptical machine in my garage. So I've just been doing that in the garage, but eventually, and actually rather quickly, I'm starting to get that itch to start, doing the heavy power lifts again, because I don't want to lose the strength and conditioning that I've built up. So that you guys are kind of broadening your what you offer. You're broadening it to people like myself who want to, we may not have the cash to pay X number of dollars for a huge amount of equipment that we would need at home, but that if we could pay it off little by little with some sort of a down payment program with you guys or something, that is pretty attractive. I could imagine that all of a sudden quite a few powerlifters are going to be getting in contact with you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Now, when will this...
And the craving you feel, of course, that's who you are, John. You're a lifter, and that's the end of the scale that you are on, because on the other end is the marathon runner, But you're a lifter. That's who you are.
Yeah,
you need to do it.
I have to do it. I was kind of a latecomer to powerlifting. I had been a bodybuilder for years. I competed actively in the States for a while. Then I moved to Norway, and I kept training as a bodybuilder, but I never competed here in Norway. And it wasn't until 2015 that I went over to powerlifting, and I just fell in love with it. Yeah. I'm not the kind of person who goes back over the past and I wish I did this or I wish I did that. I don't do that. But if I were to be that kind of person, I would say that I wish I started powerlifting a lot sooner than I did, because I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I guess bodybuilding is a nice fundament.
It gave me the basis to build on. It gave me a good foundation to build up from, and I was always strong. I was always very strong as a bodybuilder. I was fortunate enough to learn the basics of squatting and deadlift from the great legend Ed Cohen. People call him the great legend, and that's what he is, but he's also a friend of mine. I was very fortunate to know him and train with him when I was living in Chicago back in the day. So that was the start of my powerlifting, even though I didn't know it at the time.
But still, also the knowledge. You know a part of the physique. So even though bodybuilding is more focused on the appearance, you still got to learn a lot about the physique as well. And,
there's a definite crossover benefit from having that foundation, from having that beginning in bodybuilding. It definitely prepared me for powerlifting. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I've been watching you and following you, and with your injuries and everything, I really felt that, because I know who you are. I know how dedicated you are, and it was kind of, you did this a little bit for me as well, because I'm 45 now, and I never done anything when it comes to strength except training myself.
Okay.
And it's so nice to follow somebody who is grown up like you were, and still achieving your goals. And I was really sad when you got injured as well. You have a couple of shoulder injuries, right?
Well, it's just the one shoulder, and as of right now, I've had 8 operations on this shoulder since 2016.
Oh wow.
Long story short, I have the collarbone. The acromion on the tip of the collarbone, on most people it grows pretty much straight out, pretty much horizontal. But on mine, it curves rather severely down. Yeah. So that if you can imagine, all of my shoulder movements up through the years have consistently been kind of scraping and gnawing away on my tendons and ligaments in my shoulder. So that when I started lifting super heavy as a powerlifter, those tendons and whatnot were already worn down, and then the injury started. So where I am now is, I don't know. You said it was kind of sad to see the injuries. Okay, it's unfortunate that I had that shoulder injury, but it hasn't stopped me. And in fact, since my shoulder injury, that's when I started setting records, Norwegian records, American records, and continental records for squat.
Yeah, okay.
That is actually after my shoulder injury. Yeah.
Well, it's I guess that what you're telling me now makes you normal, because I guess it's the lucky ones who don't have anything wrong with them that is able to reach the furthest, while most of us have something that will stop us from coming up to those levels.
Well, I'll change your words a little bit. Most of us have something that can stop us.
Yeah.
The trick is to have, I don't know, how do I put it? I don't want to say I'm far from better than anyone else, but I am very driven. When I started powerlifting, like I said, in 2015, and I started with the intention of being very successful at it. I knew that I had it within me to be a successful powerlifter. So the shoulder injury comes, and right away I start thinking, okay, how can I get around this? Now, if you think of powerlifting, that you have squat, bench, and deadlift, where is the least amount of weight that is lifted in those three lifts? Well, that would be bench. So the fact that my shoulder is so messed up doesn't have to keep me from having a huge total of the three lifts.
Yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
So that has been my focus. I have used 0 minutes, 0 seconds worrying about my bench. I've used all my time to focus on building my squat and my deadlift, and so far it's paid off.
Yeah.
So I'm just crazy like that. I'm extremely focused, extremely driven. I started powerlifting with a goal, and I just don't see this shoulder injury as a reason to cause me to change my view of what my goal should be within powerlifting.
So I look at you as successful. Do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I told you at the beginning of this, I'm too blessed for stress, and I am.
Yeah.
I am incredibly fortunate. I am actually, in these days, putting a lot of focus on writing a book, actually, of my experiences, with a focus on my experiences since I've been here in Norway.
Oh, cool.
I came to Norway in 2002 with nothing except for the life experience that I had. I had no connections here. I came with my wife, who was Norwegian, of course. But other than that, I had no job connections, no idea of what I could do for a living. I didn't know the language, nothing. So from that, I have gone from nothing and not having a job to having a series of jobs and having a long period of working for myself. As you know, I had 3 gyms at one time. And to being in this position now where I can focus on my art. I'm doing this podcast with you. I'm a musician. I'm doing stand-up, and I'm writing a book. Good God, how fortunate can I get? I mean, I'm just successful. Yeah, I am. And I'm lucky.
You're also a very, very modern employed person, because this tendency of having more than one leg to stand on, if you use the Norwegian word for it, it's getting usual. And I actually heard that by 2020, I heard this a couple of years ago. By 2020, I think it was 50% of the American workforce would be self-employed.
Yeah.
And that means not just 100% self-employed, but maybe partially self-employed.
I see, yeah.
So it's the new way of doing things, having maybe 3 or 4 different jobs that you move in between in order to get this whole thing to go together. So you can be a personal trainer that's like 8 hours a week, and then you can be working as some night shift in the weekend at the 7-Eleven, and then you have another couple of gigs that you do. So that's a young man's game, but you're playing it because you are young at heart.
I think, well, absolutely, and thank you. But I am actually. I don't know. I look at it as being extremely fortunate to have this little handful of things that I enjoy. I love writing music and performing. I love doing stand-up comedy. I love doing this podcast. And fortunately, the sum of those things is enough to keep me going in my work life.
Oh yeah, of course. No, it sounds great. Sounds like you found, really your place.
I think so. And my place will be even better if more people buy my music and listen to my podcast.
Of course.
No, so it's all about taking advantage of the opportunities that arise. I think people consistently are met with opportunities. The question is, are their eyes open? Are your eyes open so that you can see the opportunity before you? Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, I think I will devote some to smartness as well. You need to be...
You have to have a mind for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's... in my eyes, you're an adventurer.
Yes.
And it also... I thought this all the way. Since the first time I got to know you, living, way up in Troms. And just moving and just hear about your history, it was really fascinating, I think. So it tells a lot about you.
How so? Now you're going to interview me. Now you're going to take over the podcast. How?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to get a handle on those kind of things because I think it's going to help me in my writing process to know how other people have viewed my journey, because I'm just on the journey, and to have the introspection to analyze it is not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely. You need other people to do that for you.
So when we met, I was a struggling gym owner at that time. And I have to say this, you worked for a different company at that time. Now you're the boss at Eleiko Norway. But at that time you worked for a different company, and I bought a pretty big package of gym equipment when I was opening my second gym. I bought that from you guys at that time. Yeah. And you were very, how do I put this? You were so instrumental in that second gym of mine getting up off the ground and becoming successful. You were fantastic at giving me advice. You weren't just a salesperson. You were a consultant.
Thank you for that.
And I would imagine you've brought that aspect of your professionalism to Eleiko Norway. It was just amazing the way you guided me. You gave me tips on what kind of equipment to get, tips on how to run the business, how to get more customers and more members at the gym and whatnot. And not the least, you were very patient with the payment. You gave me a little bit of extra time to pay down that equipment because I was a new gym owner. I was on my own. I was not part of a corporation. I was doing everything myself. So I just want to tell people about that little part of my story so that they know what kind of person you are. You were extremely kind-hearted back then.
All right, thank you. That's good to hear. Like I said just earlier, you need to hear about yourself, who you are, and what you care from other people.
Maybe I should have said that about you being so generous with the payment off of the air, though, because now you're going to get 500 people asking you, for. Can I have a 5-year payment plan on $1,000, please?
Somebody needs that. Somebody else needs advice on how to run their business. Not everybody is asking for the down payment, but no. Being a consultant, when I'm proud of being a salesman. I think I would say that I'm a salesman first and foremost, and I'm proud of that because you need to.
You should be. You're good at it.
Yeah, thank you. You should never confuse a good salesman with a typical salesman. Those are two different things.
Interesting.
So, a typical salesman is what people look at as typical is the one who's putting his foot in the door.
Yeah.
Or the shady used car salesman. That's the typical. That's what people think of as a typical salesman. But a good salesman is taking care of his customers, making his customers more successful.
Well, you definitely took care of me. I was talking to my wife, the infamous Snoopy, as I call her. Yeah. I was talking to her the other day about, just going back through my experience of being here in Norway. And I was talking to her about how instrumental those years as a gym owner were for me as far as molding my drive and molding my character. And again, I could not have had the fun and the success that I had as a gym owner without the advice and the guidance that you gave me at that time. So that and that right there, told me that you weren't just as you say, not just a typical salesperson. You were a consultant and you were a friend. So Shout out
to hear, John.
Shout out to you, Mr. Daniel Eriksen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's kind words.
So you think I'm an explorer? I guess I am in a certain way, an explorer. I went from being a cop in the Chicago area to being an immigrant in Norway. Now that is a big journey right there.
Yeah, and your roots is in Ohio?
Roots are in Ohio. I'm from out in the countryside in Ohio.
So I guess is there some Norwegian heritage in Ohio?
Yeah, there is a town called that's in Illinois. There's a town called Norway, Illinois. But in Ohio, there's a lot of people named Hansen or Olsen or, if they've got a SEN on the end of their name, there's Norwegian roots there.
Yeah.
So
interesting. No, it's been I guess it's been a nice journey, and I also have been to Chicago a couple of times and heard your stories from it as well, and
I think I told you Chicago's a great town as long as you stay in the well-lit areas of downtown.
That's it.
Chicago is a beautiful city, though. You were there for a couple of seminars, were you not?
I think I was there 3 times because Life Fitness, my former employer, had their head office there. So
Life Fitness, that's correct. Yeah.
So I was visiting there a couple of I think three or 4 times, and it was always fun. So one time, this trade show that we always went to is in March.
Yeah.
And I think the last time we were there, we were wearing shorts. And the sun was shining, and it was summer in Chicago. And I think the first 3 times it was just, wearing your thick jacket.
Yeah.
So that was. I've seen a couple of 2 sides of the city when it comes to the weather and climate, and it's.
Chicago's a little crazy with the weather. Ohio is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just remember my first time there. I was there, and I met with a customer, and I hadn't. I think. I was on my own planning this whole thing. It's the first time I just didn't go along with the company. So I was organizing everything, and I needed to split up the hotels because I didn't find vacancy for 4 nights.
Oh, wow.
And so I had the first night at the Drake. And that's a really old hotel. I heard that Al Capone used to be there.
I was just going to say Al Capone. It's also supposed to be haunted.
Yeah. Okay. So when I came in, I think even now it's the best hotel I ever been in.
Oh, really?
I got the suite in the top story because they did some mistakes that my room was rented out, and I got the top suite.
Oh, and, man. Wow.
I was sitting there with my customer, sitting with floor to ceiling windows, probably 3.5 meters high, watching Lake Michigan and I think it's Michigan Drive going outside there. Yeah. And
Michigan Avenue.
And I asked if I could have a coffee mug with the Drake on it, and I got it for free, and I think I used that as my regular coffee mug for like 8 years or something.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it was just and the breakfast with I think it was 3 chefs there. So it's a pancake chef, and there's an omelet chef, and there's some other chef as well. So that was a nice.
That's a good Chicago memory. Chicago. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't want to bash Chicago. It's a beautiful city. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot to do. But I guess I have a little bit of a jaded image of Chicago from working in that area as a police officer. It's just like, well, I guess above and beyond that, I'm also used to living out in the countryside. That's how I grew up. So for me, it was a bigger change to move from my hometown in Ohio to Chicago than it was to move from the United States to Norway. Coming to Norway was kind of like coming home in a way.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the countryside, the more relaxed atmosphere, not so many people stacked up on top of each other. That's more in line with what I'm used to.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I guess the biggest issue with coming to Norway was learning the language.
Yeah,
but that went quick. That went very quickly, actually. Yeah.
I remember talking to you the first time, so I don't think I realized that you were American. Maybe you told me, but still, I had this image of you.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy?
Yeah. I actually thought about a little younger Neil Young kind of guy.
Oh, cool.
Actually, it's strange, but that's when I knew you were American, because and I think you told me you were from Ohio, and then I just had this. automatically you make some connections in your brain.
Yeah.
And the calmness and the soothing, your voice is, is very, it's really nice and calm voice, and that made me make me an expression as well. So it's really nice how you kind of make that person in your imagination not knowing what you look like. So when I met you the first time, I was surprised.
Yeah, because we did talk. We did have a business connection for quite some time before we actually met.
Yeah, that's true.
At least a couple of years, maybe 3 years we were talking before we actually met. Yeah.
And that was before Facebook,
That was before Facebook.
Yeah.
There was a world before Facebook, children.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually managed well in that world as well.
But you know what? I have turned Facebook into, at first it was just kind of weird and tiresome, because I was seeing how ugly people could be, and people throwing politics up on Facebook and whatnot, and just the fighting and the ugliness. But I rather quickly turned Facebook into a tool first to get in touch with old friends from high school back home.
Yeah.
And since then, I have made, there's a period where I also use it to promote my gyms, and that was a little difficult at times. But now that I'm no longer a gym owner, now I can put my own content up there almost as an extension of my personality, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And for me, Facebook and social media in general is something that I use for fun. I use it to promote what I'm doing as an artist. I use it to share some thoughts. I go out of my way to try and post things that are going to make people smile or laugh or feel good in some way.
Yeah. That sounds, the last part is the same with me. I like to keep optimism there. Of course, you are stepping into and doing some mistakes every now and then, but in total, it's a nice way to express who you are by what you're sharing.
It is.
Some people is good at it, some don't really understand that at all. But I think you need to have somewhat of a marketing mind to understand how you should communicate who you are in the best way. And one thing is, I'm looking at things I did maybe 8 or 7 years ago. You get these memories shared, and I'm thinking, what was I thinking? How? Not that it was horribly wrong, but it was very off who I see myself as now.
Well, could part of that just be the lack of understanding that new thing at that time? This whole thing with social media was very new, and you just didn't, because I know from my part, like I said, I used to use it to promote my gyms, and then a lot of my customers, if they weren't satisfied, they would post something to me, to my gym on Facebook, and I found myself way too often getting into rants back and forth with dissatisfied customers. So when I see those things, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just the worst thing I could have done business-wise. Not only business-wise, but it goes on my personality. People are probably thinking John is just some kind of argumentative asshole. It's just but we live and learn. That was 7-8 years ago. We live and learn.
It's probably it's not that big of a damage that it might look like. It's how many is reading it. Because sometimes we might think that everybody who I have on Facebook will see this, but it's maybe just 2% who will see this, and 5% of those 2% care.
Well, but aren't there at times some rather serious consequences? I've heard stories of people not getting hired if they've interviewed for a job they want, and then people do a background check on their social media and they see a post and they're like, we don't want that person. I think that is okay. Checking someone's social media can be a tool to figure out what kind of a person they are. If you're looking at their most recent posts, I'd say go back 6 months or a year. But again, if you're looking at something that someone posted 10 years ago, is that a reflection of who they are today? I would say it's not. I would say it's not. At all. Yeah.
And of course, they if they are bad marketers of themselves as well, the things they post don't really represent who they are.
That's true.
So there is some error code in there as well that the employers can go into. Because they think that this person is good at marketing themselves, but they're actually not.
Yeah. I try to be good at marketing myself. I try to have it in the back of my mind, what kind of an image am I presenting when I'm posting something?
It's hard. Marketing is hard. It's the least concrete thing you can think about. It's in business. How do you measure return on investment on marketing? Nobody knows how to do it.
That's an impossible
task. Money
out,
and there's hope that this will work somehow.
Yeah,
we do it ourselves because we're a small company, so we don't have the resources to have a marketing person. So we need to use a company that we are working with, and we have to just trust that they know what they're doing.
How many employees do you have here in Norway?
We got 6 people now. So,
and what are their job descriptions? What are they doing?
So there is, I am the country manager, and then we have an office manager. I'm like the CEO, and Peter is like the CFO. So he's the one who likes the financing part and the organized guy. I'm the creative one.
Oh, there you go. You've got the better job, I think.
Yeah, I did, absolutely. So if you should choose between the 2 jobs, you would definitely pick mine.
Oh, I give all respect. I give all respect to people who can handle the numbers. But oh my gosh, I'm so glad there's other people to do those things and not me.
But you need both.
Sure.
If you have a CFO running a company, when tough times comes, you will just save. While a CEO will spend, and they will invest, and they will take risk. Yeah. So you need both to balance it out. But back to the question, and then we have John, who is aftermarket. He's actually a customer experience manager.
Uh-huh.
So the thing is that his responsibility is to have happy customers.
Okay.
So after we've done the sale, he is the one who is taking over the torch when it comes to having satisfied customers with the delivery, with the planning, with the assembly of the equipment, with warranties, with things that break during transportation and stuff.
Yeah.
So instead of just making him service, his customer experience manager.
That is an important job because he can set the stage for people coming back to you guys for more sales.
Yeah, and that's the holy grail. If you get satisfied customers, you will grow.
Yeah.
If you don't have happy customers, you always need to find new ones, and then you will limit your growth. But if you can sell back to the old ones and also to the new ones, that's how you win. So
that's basic business. That's basic business, but I think a lot of people forget about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And too many companies get too involved with themselves. They make it about themselves, and that's wrong. It's about the customers. They're the ones who's paying the bills. They are the ones who's paying the salaries and making us profitable. So you need to put your focus on the customer, because that's your bread and butter. That's what makes you live. So back to it, and then we have 3 guys on sales: Matthias, Rune, and Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
So Matthias is based in Stavanger and is doing a really great job to the west side of Norway. And then we have Rune, who has more Østlandet. I don't know how do you say that?
Eastern Norway.
Yeah, the eastern part, and you have Thomas, who's in the north.
Okay.
And I'm all over the place. So
you guys are a solid little team. No more than 6 people.
Yeah, we have, the goal for us is to have 10 million in revenue per person we employ. So we have the goal for this year is 60 million, and then we can, and that's how we measure everything, because by doing that we can have a nice profit, responsible company, and at the same time keep the lowest prices to customers. So
that's fantastic.
If we go below, it's our bottom line that suffers, not customers.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I don't want to say that people should be looking for ways to capitalize on this crisis, but then again, you do have a business to run. And when I think about that opportunity for people who aren't part of a gym chain or part of a corporation, for just the average power lifter, for example, or the average weightlifter, or the average person who needs to continue their training at home because the gyms are closed, well, here's an opportunity for them with you guys at Eleiko Norway.
Yeah, sure.
That's a great commercial, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the one thing that really defends pay more for quality is that if you should change your mind in 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years, you get nicely paid for Eleiko equipment because the gyms are interested in it, the sports clubs is interested in it. Also, private individuals is like you are interested in paying. But if you choose like a cheap solution, you will get nothing back in 1 or 2 years. You can just throw it in the landfill because nobody's really interested in paying for it.
Yeah, some people may not know this, but you can't just buy anything and expect to get a good training experience from it.
No, that's also true. So absolutely, that's two things there. So the rest, the value, and also the quality of the workout. Absolutely. Yeah. Norwegians is happy. Is fond of doing things properly, and it seems like if you're a cyclist, you gladly pay 40 or 50,000 crowns for a bike. $5,000. Yeah. And this shouldn't be a reason to people who is lifting that they shouldn't be interested in paying for quality as well.
Well, there's a lot of serious. I don't know too much about the weightlifting environment in Norway, but the power lifters here are quite. On an international stage, they're quite. They're getting the job done. Yeah. So I'm just imagining that there are quite a few powerlifters, and I'm sure weightlifters as well, who are in need of some kind of solution now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you, they are craving as well. They're starting to feel the itch after a couple of weeks, and
this has been cool for me to kind of lay back and rest my joints a little, rest my shoulder, even though they're discouraging people from going to hospitals and whatnot if they don't need to. So I'm doing my physical therapy here at home alone.
Oh yeah.
Which has been good, which has been great. But eventually, I'm gonna want to grab a hold of a powerlifting bar and and get back to squatting and deadlifting and all that stuff again. So,
we're gonna look at it, John. We'll
little private phone call after the podcast, maybe.
We might do that.
Yeah.
It's I personally think it's so exciting. I can't stop myself from thinking this is exciting, even though it's some level it's terrifying as well. What happened, and the consequences of this on the long term for the economy and everything. It's scary. But
it's scary, but I think it's stimulating people to think in a different way and reprioritize. I would
Absolutely. It's as a strategist, they say that in the head office in Sweden that they're laughing at me because I'm always 3 years in the future. And if you're that kind of guy, you can't hold yourself back from being excited about the changes that's going on now, because we're going to emerge from this different, and that is so exciting.
I always like to tell people, if I'm giving a little motivational talk or even just an everyday conversation, if it comes up, this thing about motivation, I like to say that I am a man who enjoys a challenge because that challenge is nothing but an opportunity. Some people take the word challenge and they change that word into problem. I don't think a challenge is a problem.
No.
A challenge is an opportunity. It's a door that you can walk through, and then you will see a new opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
To a new opportunity to expand your knowledge, to experience something new, which is going to give you growth. So these are challenging times. Absolutely. I don't want to minimize anyone's pain or struggle in these days, but it is a challenge. It is an opportunity to make some new decisions, to change your way of thinking and to grow from it. And that's on a personal level, that's on an individual level, that's on a business level. Hey, okay, we have this situation. What are we going to do? Here's the challenge. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah. Just think about climate change, for instance. It's of course, I think Norway has the largest part of the population being skeptical to climate change and don't really believe that much in it. But still, just look at what happens when we get these reports that the pictures over the most polluted places in the world is now clear.
Yeah. Have you seen those pictures? Pictures of the skyline in Los Angeles, for example.
It's moving from abstract to be something you can hold on to.
Yep.
Something you can relate to. And then maybe a lot of the population will take a little more of their part of the responsibility. Use a little more product, recycle more, walk more often. If you can make this as an opportunity to make a large part of the population see things a little different, then everybody wins. The world wins.
I agree with you, but here's a question. Do you think that most people in Norway, once this crisis is over, do you think that they're just going to very quickly go back to the normal and forget about all of this stuff and go right back to the same habits, whether those habits are good or bad? In other words, sometimes I get the impression that Norwegians forget things very quickly.
That might be, but I think it depends. It depends on the length of the changes, because you need to live in that alternative world for a while in order to adopt the new routines. People are really strung on doing what they're always done. Changing their minds is hard. That's how people are, I think. So, but now you're forced to think differently, and you learn from people around you always also doing things differently. And even the skeptics who wants to go to Sweden to buy cheap tobacco and voluntarily goes into 2 weeks of quarantine afterwards, even those people will wake up and see that that was stupid. I should play by the rules. I should do my part of this job that we all need to do. And so I believe that the society as a whole will change. You will always have people who's going straight back to the normal. But if the majority is changing just 5% in a positive direction, you have created a huge change in a short amount of time.
So do you think we've been in these crazy new times long enough? It's been 6 weeks? Do you think these 6 weeks are long enough to make a significant majority of people change here in Norway, or do we need to be in a state of struggle a little bit longer? What do you think?
The question is actually the majority, because I don't believe that the majority is there yet. No. But I believe that we are converting people every day, every hour, every minute.
Well, I tell you, I was disappointed when I saw that on the news. Just for people who don't know what happened, people were going across the border to Sweden, as they normally do in normal times. Go across the border to buy cheaper alcohol, cheaper cigarettes, and whatnot. But now the thing is if you're coming in to Norway from any other country, you automatically have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. So these are people who just didn't give a crap about the suggestion that you hold yourself, that you stay at home and isolate yourself. They got in their cars, they drove to a different country just to get a few dollars off on some alcohol, and then they willingly will sit for 2 weeks isolated in their home. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I think that you might be onto something when it comes to, if you can call it like a disease in the Norwegian society. It's dangerous to move into this, but I think that I do not think that the American way of running the society is a good way. I think you don't take care enough of people. It's too many people living on the bridges, and even more now soon. Because they can't make their next payment, So, but still, if you think that society always will look after for you, that means that also you can do whatever you want, because you got somebody who is cleaning up after you and making everything okay. And as I've been saying this for many years before the Corona crisis, that if just theoretically, if you live in Oslo in an apartment with only electrical heating, and the power goes off in 3 weeks, for 3 weeks, and it's minus 15 degrees Celsius in Oslo. Nobody's coming to get you. It's not like the society or police or whatever is coming to bringing you out and putting you in a safe place with a fireplace. You need to fix that yourself. You need to call some friends or relatives or go to a shelter or whatever, because the people with who are old and sick and stuff, they will get picked up, of course. They will get help, but if you're just an average guy living in Oslo,
you're kind of on your own.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Well,
I don't think we are aware enough of that, because we're just used to whatever happens to us, we are landing in like a pillow with society taking care of you. And of course, I know that many people who has been needing to have society take care of maybe be angry at me right now, but it's kind of a metaphor, and it's an example.
I have a view. I have a view that's very similar to that. Now I think that the Norwegian social system, the social support system, is a fantastic thing. But I do see that it can lead to a certain amount of laziness, a certain amount of a lack of ambition among some people, because they know that if they do the minimum, they will always be taken care of for the most part.
Yeah.
And then you have the other end of the spectrum in the United States, where it hurts me to my very soul to see my fellow countrymen in America who don't have the money to buy insulin if they have a diabetic problem. They don't have the money to buy their asthma medication or their heart medication, blood pressure medication, because of, I call it a barbaric healthcare system.
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely disgusting the way, I mean, it's better now than it used to be, but that there are people on within a certain political spectrum who want to make it even more difficult for Americans to get health care. This isn't a political podcast, but I'm a human being, and I have a heart that reacts to what I see. And when I see Americans struggling, I look at, for example, the unemployment numbers, not now, but before the crisis. The unemployment numbers in America were great, but how many people who are employed have 2, 3, some of them 4 jobs just to make ends meet? Is that a good system?
No. Oh, it's not. It's a horrible system. It's cruel.
It's very cruel. It's heartless.
And
it's barbaric. I call it what it is. It's barbaric. The way I look at it is, if we are all Americans, forget about the Democrat and Republican thing. If we are all Americans, shouldn't we be looking out for each other? Isn't it a little bit cold-hearted and un-American to say, hey, I got what I need. Good luck to you. Why should I support you? I don't think that is what America was founded on. I just don't believe it.
No, but if you go back to, after the Second World War, for instance, just think about the community feeling that you got, that the whole world got. Yeah. Because they needed to stay together and support each other to build everything up again. But, as time goes by, you just get kind of spoiled, I think, and you get and you tend to get very egoistic.
Well, it's an easy thing to do, to just look at you and your immediate area. Your immediate, your wife, your kids, your grandparents, that immediate family. I get that. Of course, your first concern is for them. Yeah. But what is the harm in having a system that is a little bit more inclusive than the one that we have in the States? I think the system here in Norway is almost perfect. Again, it can lead to a little bit of laziness. It can lead to a little bit of a lack of ambition. There are some people who abuse the social system here. But I think for the most part, people are appreciative of it. And there's a reason why Norwegians are consistently ranked as some of the happiest people in the world.
Yeah. And just think about it also, because a lot of people is at all times, of course, is on welfare on some level, unemployment or social whatever. Yeah. But don't forget that a lot of people is there for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're getting back into it. And then they're getting
back on their feet.
Yeah. You can't think that, it's the same people. They're sitting there all the time, and next year there's even more and more and more. The first one who got the welfare thing or money somehow, they are back to work now.
Yeah.
So you will always have a certain amount of the population that is in need of that kind of help. Yeah. It could be youth that just don't bother working, but they in the end they see friends earning more money by having a job, and you sense and you feel that craving to be a part of something, and then you get into the workforce.
Yeah.
And of course, if you get unemployed and you have a profession that is on the way down, of course you might struggle for 3-4 years, but you're going to work for 40. So 3-4 years on some kind of welfare, it's okay.
There's no shame in it, as long as you're using that available tool to better your situation. And again, most people in Norway do.
Yeah, that's right. So I believe no system is perfect, but I think ours is close to perfect. I think the American system is like you say, heartless and then barbaric.
It's a good system for people in America who are successful already, but if you're down on your luck and things are a little bit hard for you, it's extremely difficult to make things better for yourself, regardless of how much you work at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when it comes to politics, I think that most people, they grasp their share of knowledge from their side. So look at America with Democrats and Republicans. It's easy. It's two parties, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think too many people knows the skeleton of politics, in general, because you have on the one side, you have like planekonomy, which is communism, and then on the other side, you have clean marketing or a market
capitalism.
Economy.
Yeah.
And the problem on the right side, because nobody is on the flanks, they are somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's all about hierarchy, because there is flat on the communist side, and then it's a really strong hierarchy on the other side.
Yeah.
But the discussion is about what kind of support do we give in the bottom of the hierarchy. That's the whole question. And Democrats or left or right side is on the same system. It's just that one of the sides thinks that there should be given less attention to the bottom, while the other side thinks there should be some more focus on the bottom. Because if you help out the people in the bottom, the people on moving upward in the hierarchy will also prevail and
exactly.
So that it's so interesting to get down to the basics and just see that it's all about the hierarchy. How much government intervention would you like to have in the bottom in order to secure the rest of society from crime, from illness, from all the cost that is coming as a consequence of this?
Exactly. I would like to see, and this, again, I'm not trying to get into a Democrat or a Republican thing. I'm looking at it as an American thing. If we were to do everything that we could for the weakest people, for the most destitute people in our country, the poorest people in our country, if we could lift them up as good as we could, as in the best way we could, as quickly as we could, how does that hurt the nation? It does nothing but better the nation.
Cost will probably be lower as well.
I do believe so. Look at all the money that goes out for healthcare costs for poorer people. Because look at all the crime statistics. It's very rare that you're going to find a rich man running around town as a burglar or stealing cars or
killing people.
So it's I don't know. To me, it's common sense. It's not politics. It's common sense. So I'm seeing a big lack of common sense in the world today, but especially in my country, the United States. And again, this I don't think it has to. I know I'm going to catch a lot of shit from people that are going to try and say I'm not being patriotic. Well, they can kiss my behind on that. I served my time in the military proudly as a U.S. Marine. I'm extremely patriotic and I love my country, and that is why I criticize. I criticize because I care. Yeah.
You need voices like yours in order to change the system. It's just the more the merrier. So it's okay to be patriotic and critical at the same time. It's almost like it's hand in hand.
I do believe so. A true patriot is going to want his or her country to be as good as it can be. And that means that they're going to point out the things that aren't working as good as they can. I tell you what a bigger challenge for me is being an immigrant in Norway and voicing my opinion on what I think of the social and political situation in Norway.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hold a little bit back because I'm thinking, do I have a right to say this? I mean, I do have a right to say what I want to say, but you understand? It's a difficult position sometimes being an immigrant here. To voice my opinion in critical ways about the Norwegian society.
Yeah. No, it's if it's a workplace or if it's a society in general, you need the people who dare to challenge the status quo in order to just point out the things that needs to be changed. And the thing is, you don't need to change it right away, but it's just important that somebody is speaking up about things that they need to be changed.
Well, the dialogue is important. The discussion is important.
Absolutely. So, totally with you there. So I'm also a pain in the ass for some people because I dare to say that it's something wrong with the system.
Are you vocal? Are you vocal about that?
Yeah, I have to watch myself because I'm pretty direct. And some cultures and some people they can't handle that. Some people will think I'm rude because I'm direct, but it's nothing about being rude in my opinion, at least. And I went to Taiwan to visit a supplier, a manufacturer of cardio equipment that we sell equipment for. And that was interesting because our introduction to Taiwan was that we had a Russian girl who was working there because there is a lot of people going to China or Taiwan from Russia to work and stuff. And she told me that the things she thought was hard with Taiwan that you can't say things directly. You need to move around and around and around and be so careful to step on somebody's toes. So she almost went crazy, And I thought, I'm more direct than her. So I'm starting, biting my nails. Bit my tongue quite a few times in order to just...
I can imagine.
play with the rules. So it's... I guess I'm vocal and I guess I dare to raise critical questions. And fortunately, my management team in Sweden really appreciates this. They understand the value of that.
Well, I would think that that's a good quality. Anybody who's closed-minded to an opposing position, all they're doing is hurting themselves because you can feel as justified in your opinion as you want, but you're a fool if you don't listen to the other side because there may be something there.
Yeah. And of course, it's also important for those managers who have people who are very direct to understand. At least it's for me, it's really important to understand, to tell my managers, I'm doing what you and I, or what I'm following the rules, but I like to challenge you on A, B, and C. But if
that's
you
just
don't
healthy.
agree with that, that's okay.
Yeah.
And that makes them feel like, okay, I will take this seriously. I can be honest about not doing what Daniel wants because I don't agree. They don't need to be afraid of me, not doing my job properly because they decided something I don't agree upon. And the natural thing with this as well is that if you are opposed to many things on how your employer would like to do things, you should find a different job.
Okay.
So it is, if you can't get past your disagreement with how things are run, I think that the right thing, the responsible thing for you as an employed person is to find another job. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of a right that people have. You have the right to change jobs.
That's true.
You have the right to resign if you like. That's one of the perks of just being employed.
Yeah,
if you're an owner,
true.
If you're a part owner, you have to stick around until the end of time.
Well, as an owner, hearing someone who has an opposing opinion is just healthy for that owner to hear them out, and maybe they'll find that person is a bigger resource than they thought because maybe they'll come with a good idea, or at least they'll stimulate to some more thought at the management level. But then again, as you say, as an employee, as someone who has the job, I would imagine that if someone goes around months at a time, maybe years at a time, and they see things that they disagree with, but they never voice it, that has to be frustrating.
Yeah,
that's not healthy. It's not healthy.
And it's cowardly, I think, from the employee as well, that they don't take responsibility for themselves and find something else to do.
Well, there's another thing to compare Norway to compare Norway and the United States. Here in Norway, there's a lot of workers' rights. We have some very strong unions that protect the workers' rights, and that is a fantastic thing. There's a lot of jobs in the States. If you raise your voice in any kind of opposition, you're gone. You will be fired. And that is, I guess I never thought about that much when I was in the States, but I see the difference now. And this sounds like an episode where I'm just bashing the United States. I'm not.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm not doing it. It's just by chance that we're on some subjects where Norway does come out a little bit better than the States. But I enjoy the workers' rights here in Norway. It's just, to me, it's the way it should be. It's a health. It has made a more healthy relationship between employer and employee.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that if anything should be changed, I would say that employed people should be more professional employees. And that's what you are if you resign, if you don't like what your employer is doing. If you don't like the company you work for, be a responsible employee and resign.
I agree with you, but I don't think most people have that kind of confidence.
No, but that's what I'm saying, that if something should change, it should be that, workers should be more aware of their own responsibility for themselves, not at least for themselves, because you don't have you don't have a nice life if you hate your job.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
So
trying to think back through the years of my employment, I don't think I've ever had a single job that I did not enjoy. There's another aspect of my life where I've been very fortunate, and I'm doing some writing about that for my book that's coming out, is I've been very fortunate with my jobs. I have never once that I can think of had a job that I did not enjoy.
That's partially because of you. You know, you took responsibility for yourself. And got the jobs that you like. So it's half.
That's true.
Of it is you, and the other half is maybe luck. Of course, luck is part of it always.
Sure, but, meeting the right people, being in the right place in the right time. There is something to be said for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I would like to say that when I've been to the States, service is such. It's such a nice experience because the waiters and everybody who is in the service profession that I met is so professional. It's so nice you're so comfortable and relaxed around Americans because they are so professional. I think they are really professional workers or employees. And if you go to Norway, I always expect at least one thing going wrong. At least when you go to a restaurant, and I have adapted. I don't ask for special things. I want number 4 and for starters, and number 12 for main, and that's medium, and then we'll take desserts. It's easy. I make it easy.
No, I was going to say that there's something finally that I can talk about something where America is better than Norway, and you're 100% right. The service industry, everything from a waiter or a waitress to an employee working at the cash register at a store or someplace, all of that stuff all of that stuff is a much better experience in America. Some of those people just seem so cold-hearted in Norway. They're not interested in whether or not the customer is enjoying themselves.
No. They don't care. So, but I know that there's a lot of Swedes working in the service industry in Norway, and my experience is also that Swedes has a different approach to the service.
They do. A lot of people back in the States, they want to clump all the Scandinavian countries together as one unit. That is very, very different from the reality. I think Swedes and Norwegians are two totally different groups of people. Totally different.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But then again, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that's part of the success of Eleiko, the branch in Norway, is that they just said, do it the Norwegian way. We don't care. We care, but we won't interfere. We won't just say, this is how we are successful in Sweden. Do that in Norway and you will have a success. And we see other companies doing that, just copying. And you see that they fail. So you have to, just north to south. You live in Drammen now, right?
Yeah.
And you lived up in Troms. And
before that, even further north, up in Finnmark.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the difference between the northern part and the southern part is big as well. So you need to be humble towards the fact that the differences is not marginal. It's large differences just within the same country.
Well, in a business aspect, I think that it is a incredible advantage if you are a business owner or a business manager and your mind is open to the differences in the different regions within Norway because they are drastically different. And you can do business in a way up north that you cannot do down south, and vice versa.
Yeah.
How often are you on the telephone or in conference calls with the people in Sweden? How close is that? They kind of cut you loose and let you do your own thing, but I would imagine there's still a certain amount of coordination with them. Or
it's it's the state of the company, and new products coming in, and the strategic things that is moving across borders. We meet. So before the crisis we're in now, I think I was down there like one and a half times a month.
Oh, okay.
Just to meet face to face and to catch up, and it's not too much reporting. We are responsible for ourselves.
You're your own separate economic unit. Yeah.
And I, even though I'm the country manager, I think 60% of my time is sales.
Right, yeah? I see.
So that means that the time we are spending reporting and back and forth to Sweden is really marginal. And the wrong thing to do there is to make to demand that they have full insight in everything. Because that will take half a year's work in Sweden, and it will kill my time doing sales as well.
Yep.
So
you're a working manager. You're not just sitting behind a desk. You're out there. You're doing sales. You're having contact with the customers.
Yeah. And also Peter, who the office manager, he has half the time is the office manager, and the other half of the time he's dealing with our partners, the other brands that we sell in addition to Eleiko. So he also have just half a position doing the office management thing, and I have maybe 40% of my position is the management part of the company.
Now, who is responsible for making the organizational structure at Eleiko Norway? Is that you, or okay? So
that's me. Together with my manager in Sweden. So I report to my manager in Sweden, and we are discussing these things together. And I think that I started in December 2015. That was only me. And now we're 6 people. That. We have an explosive growth. And, I think that 19 out of 20 things I'm asking for, I got.
Okay.
Because, there is trust, and they feel like I need to be responsible. If they don't make me responsible, I won't take responsibility. I will just do what I'm told, and probably not last too long in that job. But since they are happy with the progress that we have, they totally accept our failures as well, because of course we are failing sometimes.
Failure is also a part of growth, and I think that applies on a personal level or in a business context.
So I need to take responsibility, and that makes them also patient with me, because they know that everything that you try that is different is a chance of failure, but in the total, we are very successful. So the things that often happens in large organizations is that you have two focuses. One is to look good in your job, and two, not to how do you say it nicely? Not to screw it up.
Yeah.
Because if you look bad in a company, you get fired.
Yeah.
If you look good, that will maybe give you a promotion. But doing something that is risking you looking bad, you will not do it.
Yeah.
And then you have no innovation in the company. Everybody's just looking after
their own. Too scared to try. Yeah.
Yeah. And we are very fortunate that this organization has failed a lot, and that's why we have advanced as fast as we have done as well, because we have let ourselves try things and fail.
Failure is good. Again, failure is a sign of growth.
It's super important,
because within that failure is a lesson learned.
Yeah, when they tell stories about the old days in Eleiko, I really, I'm laughing so hard, because it's such strange decisions that's been made. But still, when you were there, it was a good decision. And who is better to make the decision than the person with all the information? So even the person on the top can make a wrong decision, but it's still the right decision, because nobody else has the competence to make a decision.
Yeah.
So if you let yourself or organization fail, you are also telling your employees that it's okay to come with ideas, it's okay to try new things, because it's not a risk for your job if you fail.
Yeah. It sounds like you just got the perfect work environment. Of course, you're responsible for that. You're the boss, but above and beyond your unit in Norway, just to have that brotherhood with the people in Sweden, it just sounds so beneficial.
Yeah, but still, we want to beat them.
Of course.
It's the competition.
Of course, beat those Swedes.
It's a dream, but for now, we are selling. I think we are winning. If you look at the revenue compared to the number of people living in Norway, and you do the same in the sales in Sweden.
Awesome.
But that's a constant competition, and I tell them that, and they like that we have a competitive mindset towards each other. So,
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like you are not just a numbers guy. You're not just preoccupied with we got to make this money. We got to make this money. It looks like you have your eyes open for opportunities to develop yourself as a person and learn some lessons in this process.
Yeah, it's. I think I crave that. I crave some kind of development and to learn more. I've always been like that. Even just an example, doing spin classes a lot of the time when I was a lot younger. I preferred the instructor who taught us something about training while doing the workout.
Yeah.
The ones who just had like a party factor, it was okay, but I made sure to go to the session with the instructors that just maybe just a couple of small things during the workout that was information that I was interested in since I was a training guy.
Yeah.
So it's been like that always. And I also felt that a couple of times when I've been to courses like management courses, sales management courses, motivational courses, sales courses before I was a manager as well.
Mm-hmm.
It tends to be some years in between. But when I'm in those settings, I'm almost getting reborn. It's such a great feeling to sit there and meet other people, meet trainers who. Or teachers that really know their stuff. It's
that's awesome.
Yeah,
but I think it's all about, like I said earlier, having your eyes open for that opportunity for growth. As a powerlifter, I'm trying to do that growth thing both physically but also mentally, and mentally much more than physically. The physical, you can just be a meathead and go in the gym and train. And you're gonna get some growth, but where is that mental challenge?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're saying that I'm on the right spot, in the right place, if you look at our values in Eleiko, it's performance, kindness, learning, and it's so strong values to have, and it's bold as well. Who has kindness as a value, as a core value of the company? And we've had that for I think 20 years or something.
What is it? Performance, kindness, and
learning.
Learning. Okay, yeah.
So,
wow, that says a lot right there about the company. You're right. Kindness. Yeah. Who's thinking about that?
Yeah, it's getting really popular now. Kindness is the new thing, that you need to care about your customers. But it's not been like that before recently. But we've had this for I don't know how long, because I wasn't there when those values was written down. But I believe at least for the last 10 or 15 years, that's been a core value. And Eric, who is the CEO now, this is a family company. Family-owned company, and and Eric's father, Lennart, was the one who's started the real journey with Eleiko and make it. And it was always the human aspect that was at the core of Lennart's values. And when you're a small company like Eleiko was before, the values of the owner is the values of the company. You have no choice.
Absolutely.
You can't get around that, because so much is involved in you as the owner. That I don't think you have a chance of establishing different values than your own when you're small.
No,
and these values have just been transferred over the years to the family after they took over running the business.
I see.
So it's a great place to work, and as I said earlier, a good salesman cares about their customers and make their customers successful. And, if you have kindness as part of your values, that's an easy thing to do. If money is all that matters, making money on the sale for yourself, then it's hard to be nice with a customer because you don't have support from the company you work for.
I always take guidance from my grandmother. May she rest in peace. She always used to tell me, money will not buy you happiness, but it will pay for the search. So there's a little bit of realism in there, but above and beyond that, she always was such a kind-hearted person. And she always told me that kindness will win the day. Now, that is not to say that kindness will make things easy for you. No,
not at all.
But it will win the day. And to hear you talk about having kindness incorporated as a part of your company's motto, that's different. There's not a lot of companies who are that focused on kindness.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So Eleiko is more than just a powerlifting bar to sweat on.
Yeah.
Eleiko is, you guys have some core values that people can relate to.
Yeah. It's also about strength. But just think about that word. How wide isn't the definition of strong? You can be mentally strong, you can be physically strong, you can be strong in a crisis, you can be strong for your family.
Yeah.
And that we are focusing on the broad meaning of the word strength.
Yeah.
What strength will do to you and your life.
Yeah.
It's important to zoom out and see the bigger perspective, not just being strong in deadlifts or squats.
Well, strength is a concept that I think more people should explore and try and get beyond the narrow definition, as in how much can you bench or how much can you squat. Strength is a concept that can be applied to so many different aspects of life. I see, for me anyway, there is more of a focus on that mental strength, that emotional strength than there is in the physical strength. As strong as I am as a powerlifter, I've put more time into training that other aspect of strength that applies to the mental and the spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does it do to you to be strong physically? Because I think that makes you a different person otherwise as well.
Well,
if you are strong in the core, in the foundation, I believe that maybe you are a little more calm. Maybe you are a little more self-confident, in other parts of life as well.
Well, I'm definitely more confident walking in downtown Drammen at midnight, being strong. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, my physical strength, underneath what people see, there is years of planning and years of discipline, years of success and failures. There's a sum of all of those parts that lead to the physical strength that I have. So there is a story behind all that is above and beyond how many reps I've done and how many kilos I've lifted. I try to apply those lessons that I learned through the discipline that I have to have in order to work out and train and have success. I try to apply that in my everyday life. Yeah. I guess that goes back to my days as a Marine. I can go all the way back to the first days of boot camp, where is that responsibility. If you do this, then that will happen. If you do that, then this will happen. And when you have an awareness of that, it kind of guides you to walk that path that brings a consistent stream of self-improvement and self-awareness, which then puts you in a better position to do for others.
Yeah.
So I try to, that's the way I, to say it shortly, that's kind of how I try to live my life. Get as strong and secure as I can, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, emotionally, so that I can be in a better position to do for others. First and foremost for my family, but above and beyond that, anybody else that I would happen to come into contact with in my day-to-day life. Sounds corny, but that's how I live my life.
Yeah. And I think that people who is doing the same will relate to that very easily.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
So, wow. What a conversation. This is, when people see when I post this, I'm going to be writing that I'm speaking to the head of Eleiko Norway, and people are probably going to assume, oh, they're just talking about powerlifting and weightlifting and stuff. Yeah, we talked about that, but I think we've talked about a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's I like the concept of your podcast. It's the natural conversation is I always like that, and as I told you,
thank you.
When it comes to, for instance, like I told you, going fishing, I will gladly join, but I don't bother to fish.
Yeah,
I like to talk to people and be social. That's the thing that I like about a fishing trip, not the fishing itself.
Well, what we need to do, one of these days, both of us are going to have the time, and we don't need a lot of time. If we had just 3 or 4 days, and we fly up to Alta, up in northern Norway, and then from there we take the ferry out to Sealand, and on Sealand is our farm. And we go up there and we just turn the clock upside down, and nighttime will be our daytime. We go out at like 11 o'clock at night on the boat, and we fish until like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we come back, clean the fish, bedtime.
Yeah.
That right there is my idea of fishing. Now, there's a lot of people that like to do the river or lake or something like that, freshwater fishing. I like to be out in the ocean, up north, off of the shore where our farm is up on Sealand.
Yeah. Never tried, never been that far north.
You got to do it.
I've been to Tromsø and just experienced the midnight sun, and it's strange. But still, just talking about experiences, so many people is thinking that an experience needs to be expensive, you need to go far away. You need to be in a place where everything is different. You can go to the north of Norway and you get all that.
Yeah, I tell you, you if you time it right, it's a couple thousand kroners, about $200, and you fly up there, and then it costs maybe another $50 to take the ferry out there. And other than that, there's no expenses.
Yeah.
Just imagine having a 3-day weekend up there doing that.
Oh yeah. How long would it? I'm just curious. How long time would it take to drive up there from Drammen?
This was back in, I believe it was like 2007 or 8. After we had moved up north, my wife bought a car, and that car was bought online, and the car was down here in Drammen, and we were living up in. Were we in Finnmark or were we in Nord-Troms? I do believe we were living in Finnmark at that time, so even further north. And no, I'm sorry, we were living in Nord-Troms. Yeah. So I volunteered because I love driving. So I volunteered to get that car back up here. I took a plane down, and I drove that car back, and I did it in 22 and a half hours of total driving time. I stopped about halfway up the country in Mo i Rana, for those who know where that is. I stopped there and slept for about 5 hours, got back in the car and kept driving. Driving time total about 22 and a half hours.
Wow.
and I drove through Norway. A lot of people swing off and drive through Sweden. Yeah. I don't recommend that. I've done that drive through Sweden several times, and to me, it's a little bit scary because the roads are more, at least in that stretch of Sweden, the roads are more isolated, and there's so many more reindeer up there. Yeah. It's dangerous. I won't do that. I prefer to drive through Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like an experience as well. We've been talking about, me and my girlfriend have been talking about this for 4 years, I think, to get to just go up north and have a vacation here in Norway, and I think that might materialize now this year. And I don't know how far up we will go, but at least Lofoten and around there. But
you guys are welcome up there if you want a real northern Norway experience with the isolation and whatnot. Then just swing by here in Drammen and get the keys and go on up to our place up there on Sealand. I tell you, it's beautiful up there.
So you still own that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that is the home, not the birthplace of my father-in-law, my wife's father. He was born kind of like around the corner on Sealand in a different fjord. But after that, his family moved to the place that we have there on Sealand. And he ran the farm up there, and then he gave it to my wife. I believe she got it in 1998.
Okay.
And she built the new house up there that we have and everything. So that's been in her family since her father was a baby. So we will always keep that. That we will never get rid of. My great grandchildren will walk the earth up there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
It's a nice thought, and yeah, it's.
We kind of joke. We kind of joke from time to time. I am the first and only black man to ever have set foot up there. I told them they should build a statue of me.
Yeah, sure. You should.
Did you see the Facebook post I did about a week ago of me bathing naked in the river? Did you see that picture?
No, I didn't do
Oh man, I'm going to send you that. There's a river that goes through our property up there, and one year I was up there just being silly, and I bathed in the river. And my wife snapped a picture of that, and some people who live in the village up there saw that picture. And the joke is that no one has ever drank water from that river ever since then.
So how cold is it in the middle of summer? You know, how cold is the water?
Well, it's so cold it hurts because it's
yeah.
coming from a glacier up on the mountain behind our house. So it's pure glacier water, just as cold as it could be, and the air temperature could be 25 degrees Celsius, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but that water regardless is cold as can be. I don't know, but there's something healthy about it.
So
we just feel good.
Once?
I'm sorry, say again.
Did you do that once?
Oh, what? No, I've bathed in that river several times.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
Every time we go up there, I got to jump in that river.
Yeah. So you go up there every summer then for your vacation?
No, unfortunately, all of those years I owned that gym, the gyms I had, and this was from like 2007 until we sold everything and moved south in 2014. In those 7 years, I think I was up there only twice.
Okay.
But my wife and kids, they go pretty much every summer. Now it's been a year or two since we've been up there. But now that I'm not, bound to those three gyms where I was working, day in and day out, now we have a lot more freedom to do the regular vacation thing. So that's where we're going to retire eventually. Yeah. When the time comes to retire, I want to live up there, and you don't need anything up there except some good fishing equipment and grow some potatoes in the ground, and you'll be just fine.
Well, I might take you up on the offer. I will. I will look into that because I think we are doomed to have a vacation in Norway this year, anyways. So
we were supposed.
Why not?
Yeah, why not go up there? I tell you, you're very welcome up there. You can borrow the keys and have at it. We were going to go home to the States here in June at some point. I can't remember the date, but that's probably going to be canceled.
Yeah. So how long since you've been in the States now, John?
I was there last spring.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it was roughly a year ago. I believe it was last April that I was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that when we worked together regarding your gyms, I tried to push you to go home.
You did.
Then I think it's been then at that time it was a long time since you've been there.
You did push me to go there. The last time I had been there was 2005 when our daughter was born.
Yeah.
And at that time, around 2007, 8, 9, in those years, it had been 5-6 years since I had been there. See, what people have to understand, I totally enjoyed that whole process of owning the gyms, of struggling to get it. I started those gyms with my own money, and I was not a wealthy man. I started with basically just my savings and using used equipment, not brand new equipment and things like that. And I built those gyms from the ground up. So it involved a lot of work. And it was in 2014 that things were finally starting to run of their own accord that I kind of realized, good gosh, I'm tired. I was physically and mentally just burnt out, even though I was having a lot of fun. I enjoyed that challenge. I enjoyed doing those running those gyms and owning them. But I don't know. It just got to be so much work. I was starting to miss my children growing up.
Yeah.
Our daughter was born in 2005. Our son was born in 2007. So those were in their formative years, when they're 3, 4, 5 years old. And I was starting to see that I was missing that.
Yeah.
We were talking about work days from, before the sun came up until long after the sun went down. And in northern Norway, the sun doesn't go down in the summer, so that tells you how much I was working.
That takes a toll. It's important to not lose view of the important stuff, which is especially the kids.
But I'm very proud of the work that I did, and that we were able to sell those gyms. The one gym in Tromsø I gave back. That was a bad business deal. But the gym in Nordreisa and the other one on Skjervøy, I was able to sell them, and they're still being run to this day. So that is something I'm very proud of. There was no gym on Skjervøy. I was the one that started the training environment on Skjervøy.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of that, and it's just a beautiful thing to see that those gyms are still going strong. So,
absolutely. Yeah. That means that you did the right move, and you made the choices you made were right.
Yeah. Again, I had to sacrifice a lot of time with my family, and what's interesting is that in those years I was running those gyms and owning those gyms, I did not train at all. That is the worst shape I've ever been in my life, because I just didn't make the time for it. Every bit of my time went towards the business side of running those gyms. So it's a high price to pay, but I think it's pretty usual when you start your own business. It's just you all hands on deck for at least. I'm telling my customers that you should look forward to a nice vacation with your family in 2 years. Before that, you need to be ready to just do what it takes to get this thing off the ground. I went about 7 years with no vacation.
But it's different but it is it's mentally. I think it's good to think that what I was saying is a nice vacation. And if you get people who there is a risk that they will burn themselves out. But if they have some kind of thing that they decide in 2 years, I'm going to do this or that with my family or with my wife or whatever, that kind of keeps you going, because you have this reward. Yeah. And then, of course, maybe two weeks of really nice vacation, and then you are ready for the long hours, a couple of more years, and then you can start to have like a normal work day after that, maybe.
Yeah, you have to set those concrete goals, and within that goal setting, you have to have some sort of a payout. You know, like you say, I'm gonna work hard for 2 years, but in 2 years we're gonna take a 2-month vacation in the States. Something like that. Unfortunately, like I said, it turned out to be 7 years of hard work, but I do not regret it. Quite the opposite. That was a period of time where I really found out what I was capable of doing, what I was able to create. It's just another tool that's in that little invisible backpack that I carry around. Yeah. So, and again, I thank you for your time that you used with consulting me and you were instrumental in those years. I don't think I've ever told you that, but that is the truth. Yeah.
It's really nice to hear that. You don't get those kinds of feedbacks that often. Not because my customers don't like me afterwards because I promised too much or something, but it's just they're just getting so busy with their own thing. So measuring your own success is hard.
It is. It is.
If you're only going to sit by yourself and think, how good am I at doing this? What is my potential? How should I improve? It's hard to do that all by yourself. So for good and for bad, of course. So thank you for the feedback.
Absolutely.
It's really, it warms a salesman's heart.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important. You gotta touch on the things that mean something, and that means giving that feedback. That's my mother's fault, though. She's the one that raised me. So
yeah. We have to blame our mothers.
Let's blame our mothers.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Mom, for teaching me how to appreciate people.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Daniel, this has been a fantastic, I'm looking at my clock on my mixer here. It's been 1 hour and 39 minutes of good conversation.
Yeah, it absolutely has. It's again, I love the format. I love the conversations. So,
Thank you.
This was nice. This is my first podcast, and
oh, really?
And I'm excited to listen to it afterwards when you publish it. I think it's an experience. I think it's an experience because I get to hear myself now.
I see. Yeah. Well, it kind of stimulates to introspection. It stimulates to some inner thought. Okay, did I really say that? Why did I say that? Did I really mean what it's not that I go back and listen to my episodes. I really don't do that, but I can see the benefit in going back and listening to a conversation like this. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if we get 5
it's out there now, it's out there and it will stay out there. So I can always go back and listen to it in a year or 2 or 3 and just think, who the hell was I at that point?
Well, it is a documentation of where you are here and now. Absolutely. Yeah, and it will stay out there forever. Now, if I can just get like maybe 2.5 million Norwegians to listen to it. I think that would be a benefit for both of us.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have ambitious goals, John. It is. So half of the Norwegian population should, within how many months, be listening to your podcasts?
Let's give them 3 months. Let's give them 3 months. Yeah, it'll take that long to spread the word.
I just love your ambition here.
Hey, you know what? I was joking with my wife today. Now I am a listener of Joe Rogan's podcast. I listen to him. I listen to Bill Burr as well. Yeah. And I like what Joe Rogan is doing in that it's a non-format. One day he'll have a scientist on, the next day he'll have some crazy stand-up comic on. They're just talking. They're just chilling out. He had some guy, he's a Russian immigrant to America. I cannot remember the guy's name, but he's like some crazy kind of scientist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And they spoke so little about those intellectual things. Mostly it was just regular conversation about day-to-day things, and it's fascinating. Yeah. So if I can be Norway's answer to Joe Rogan as far as listeners, I'll be happy.
Yeah. No, it's I'm cheering for you, and I'll be proud to say that I was one of the first ones.
Hey, well, I'm very glad to have you on, and you're welcome back anytime, Daniel. Anytime.
Yeah, sure. It would be absolutely nice to do it again once we have collected a little more life experience and we got something to build on, all right?
Absolutely. Real quick as we end, where can people find information about what you're doing at Eleiko Norway?
Well, it's actually just go to eleiko.com. That's the start for everything. Yep. And as I said, we can help with everything. It's a blessing and a curse to be named Eleiko, because some people will automatically think that we just sell the bars and the discs, and they don't really get to know that we can provide all kinds of other things, of products to the gym floor or to the sports club or whatever. So
let's promote the heck
there, and of course their all contact info is there, so they can just go in there and send me and shoot me an email or give me a call. I really like the conversation. So a call is the best, I think. Yeah.
And that's Eleiko, ELEIKO.com. Eleiko.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's just promote the heck out of this podcast, and you'll get more people to know what Eleiko is all about. So much more than a training product company. You guys have a variety of things, and at the top is Mr. Daniel Eriksen with these great insights about life in general. Fascinating. Fascinating.
Well, thanks for the promotion, John. I really appreciate it. And
my pleasure.
Once again, thanks for inviting me, and looking forward to listening to this with biting my nails.
No, you did good, man. You did good. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you, John.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah, we'll do. Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody, that's Daniel Eriksen from Eleiko Norway. That's ELEIKO. eiko.com if you want to check them out and what they do. Great conversation, I think. It's just, to me, it's fascinating that you would think that this guy only knows some things about his products, his training products, powerlifting equipment and whatnot. And here we find out that they are so much more than that, and he is so much more than that. Daniel Eriksen. Fantastic. Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Comin Home podcast with John Allen. You can check me out at johnallenpod.com. That's JOHNALANPOD.com. johnallenpod.com. Go there. Send me an email. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about. Let me know if you want to be a guest on the Comin Home podcast with John Allen. Okay, JOHNALANPOD.com. This has been yet another episode of the Comin Home podcast with John Allen. Bye now.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Lord, I'm coming home.